Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second Intercollegiate English Speech Contest for the IIBC Cup. We hope all of you here at Akasaka Intercity Conference Center and everyone watching the stream live on the internet will enjoy today's contest. This contest is hosted by IIBC, the Institute for International Business Communication, and is supported by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, the Embassy of the United States of America, and the America-Japan Society. Today, we are welcoming 8 speakers from across the country who won the preliminary stage of this contest. This contest aims to provide the arena for those great English speakers to compete, as well as to showcase the best speeches as great examples for future speakers. Now, I would like to introduce today's judges. Firstly, Mr. Dwayne Conver. Mr. Conver has taught courses on research and rhetoric in the high school at the American School in Japan since arriving in Tokyo with his family in 2016. He previously taught in American and international schools in Dubai, UAE, and Athens, Greece. In addition to his classroom experience, he has coached and judged high school debate teams in Greece and now at the American School in Japan. Next, Mr. Toru Tokuhisa. Mr. Tokuhisa is president of Advisory Office for Multicultural Management and Finance since 2016 and currently also serving as advisor of Japan Gold Corp, a Canadian gold exploration company focusing on Japan. He's been involved in various international business activities as an official of Japan Bank for International Cooperation for 30 years, including as the bank's representative in Washington, D.C. and New York City, as an advisor to Sumitomo Corporation, and as a director of Mitsui E&S Holdings. He studied in the United States when he was a high school student and has a bachelor's degree in law from Hitotsubashi University. Mr. Conver and Mr. Tokuhisa will be the questioners in the question and answer sessions while also judging the speeches. Next, Ms. Saori Nakasone. Having studied at Department for Science and Techniques for Expressions and Communications, Sorbonne University in Paris, she worked at the delegation of the European Union to Japan over the last 40 years. At the age of 17, being selected as a Japan representative for the NASA tour to commemorate the launch of Apollo 17, she had the honor of bringing back the Moonstone to Japan. She has served as a judge for the His Imperial Highness Prince Takamado Trophy English Oratorical Contest for many years and previously taught at Keio, Chuo, Kanazawa, and Yamagata universities. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Tokyo. Next, Mr. Tom Whitson. Mr. Whitson is a longtime Japan resident and a member of the America-Japan Society. He is from Illinois, where he graduated from the University of Illinois. Although he's a career accountant, he's been deeply involved in education. He currently chairs the Japan Market Expansion Competition, which is a unique business training program focusing on business planning skills. He's interested in public speaking and won the Prime Minister's Cup, which is the 3rd place in a Korean language speech contest sponsored by the Korea Times. Lastly, Mr. Keizo Ohashi. Mr. Ohashi joined IIBC in July 2020 as president. Prior to that, he worked in the financial services industry for more than 40 years. As a seasoned commercial banker and investment banker, he worked in most major international financial cities, for example, New York, London, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. He visited nearly 50 countries on business. He holds a Bachelor of Law degree from the University of Tokyo and a Master of Law degree from the University of Michigan Law School. Next, let me explain the rules of this contest. All speakers will have 8 minutes to deliver their speeches. Timekeepers will let you know the time by showing cards and ringing a bell. There are several cards with the numbers 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1/2, 1/4, and 0. The cards count down from 7 to 0 and give the speakers the indication of the minutes left. For example, while the timekeeper is showing this card, with the number 3, it means the speaker has at least 3 whole minutes, but less than 4 minutes left. Also, when 7.5 minutes have passed, which means the speaker has 30 seconds left, the bell will ring once like this. And when 8 minutes have passed, the bell will ring twice like this. At the ring of the second bell, the speaker has to stop speaking because it can work against the judging process. After each speech, there will be a question and answer session. The questioners, Mr. Comfort and Mr. Tokuhisa, will ask questions within 3 minutes each for a total of 6 minutes. The timekeeper will let you know the time with the cards and the session as well, but speakers can finish answering the last question from each questioner, even if they run out of time during the last question or the answer to that question. The first, second, and third prize winners will be awarded a trophy and a certificate. Also, they will receive a personal computer as a special gift. And the IIBC Cup will go to the first prize winner. The IIBC Cup has been returned to us by Mako Yamada, the winner of the previous contest. I have the pleasure of reading out to you a message from Mako Yamada. Hello, finalists. I would first like to congratulate all of you for making it to the finals. I'm sure most of you are all very nervous right now. However, I'm also sure that you've practiced countless times to make your speech perfect. Let me assure you that your practice will pay off and you will feel so proud of yourself after you're done. I'm very sad that I can't make it today, but I hope you have fun with the adrenaline and the nervousness. Once you're on the stage is yours, so own it. Thank you so much, Mako Yamada, for your message, and good luck to all the speakers. Lastly, today's timekeepers are Takumi Masaoka to my opposite, and Mika Higashi to my right. Both are from IIBC. And I'm Chihiro Sanpei, the master of ceremony of this contest. I'm also from IIBC. Now, it is time for us to welcome the first speaker. Risa Hiroko from St. Paul's University will deliver the speech under the title of Make a Cube with Information. Make a Cube with Information. Risa Hiroko, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, distinguished judges, questioners, and all the organizers today. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Do you remember how confusing it was when COVID was announced? This might become a break to the situation. In 2021, the information about COVID-19 vaccine was reported on the news as a new hope. However, I was terrified. It was because everyone in my family blindly accepted that the vaccine was safe. But I thought, what if the vaccine contains something dangerous? I don't want to get sick from it. So there, I decided to look it up on social media. But I was shocked. all I could find was about the dangers of vaccines. Some even said, people who take vaccines are idiots. So I thought, oh, maybe I was deceived and in a biased environment. When facing whether to get vaccinated or not, I argued with my mother. I still vividly remember shouting to her. I said, I don't want to get it. My family still believed in vaccines, though I didn't want to. It was my very first time disagreeing with my parents, and I hated it. Back then, I was so fixed on the idea that social media was right. It led to an argument with my beloved mother, which I deeply regret right now. But it also allowed me to learn and grow. Today, I would like to talk about how we can break free from our dogmatic viewpoint and instead better navigate through the world of information overload. What do you pay attention to when you're presented with information? Aren't you accepting it the way it is? If your viewpoints are If you are unaware of how you process information, you might be digesting it through a biased filter. That means you're letting it affected by our existing beliefs or stereotypes, and as a result, making decisions less objectively. According to a research conducted by a company called BizHits, 1 in 2 people experience failure because of being less objective about themselves. These failures are such as making mistakes or suffering in relationships. Many people are suffering from being narrow-minded. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever experienced a situation like this? 2 of your friends are having a fight and they're both asking you for advice. In these situations, if your viewpoints are fixed, maybe because of the stronger relationship with one another, it might seem to you as if the other is telling the truth and the other is telling a lie. It'll be difficult for you to listen fairly to both opinions. This can hurt not only one, but both, and later you may have regrets, like, I lost a friend because I had a fixed viewpoint. There are too many things like this in life. Obviously, having a fixed viewpoint causes situations full of downsides. There are many reasons why our viewpoints get stuck on one source unknowingly. If your viewpoints are fixed on the negative side, it might be because of your experience, and it also depends on the state of mind you have at that time. In addition, everyone has biases. This includes confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency to prefer and seek out information that supports our pre-existing beliefs. Or negative bias, which makes us more likely to believe in negative things. Others might have stereotype biases. They're biases as much as there are stars. And so, no matter how hard we try, biases will narrow our way of thinking unwittingly. However, if we could consciously broaden our mindset, we can put a stop to it. Hence, I would like to introduce how to think more objectively. That is to think, this is just one part of a larger whole. We need to look at whatever information from several perspectives. But how can we get the idea of it in detail? To do so, I will introduce the cube of information. This is to think of any idea as just one aspect, just like the squares that make up a cube. There are 2 steps for this method. Please imagine a cube and suppose you have an information about something. It can be anything like maybe some opinions about politics. And the first step is pasting. When you receive the information, before you believe or doubt it, Imagine pasting the information you received on one side of the cube and clarify who said what. Like, this politician is popular on TV. By making opinions or information clear as facts, we can avoid blindly accepting them as our opinions, like this politician must be the best. Second step is gazing. Try to look at the information from different perspectives by thinking, well, I wonder how this would look from the other side. When doing so, I recommend gathering information from different sources of media, such as academic papers, books, online articles, newspapers, and social media. By thinking like this, we can gather information from several perspectives and at the same time, calmly clarify who is saying what. After using this cube of information, it became possible for me to make a calm judgment. For example, right now, if I search for information about COVID-19 vaccine on the internet, instead of being surprised at how many people are against vaccines, I would imagine pasting them on one side of the cube and think, okay, so there are many people against vaccines on the internet. But I wonder how it is evaluated on the other side, such as on TV or by people around me. I once lost confidence in my decisions because my viewpoints were once fixed. However, after using the cube of information, I gained confidence that I'm not dominated by certain ideas and have several perspectives. I strongly hope that this cube of information would save people who suffer of information. Now it's your turn to start pasting and gazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Risa Hiroko. Then we will have a question and answer session. Mr. Carver, please begin.
Thank you very much for your speech and for that thoughtful consideration of the topic.
Thank you.
My first question for you, your proposal focuses on changing the mindset of individuals to help fight some of the negative effects of things such as social media.
Yes.
What other solutions do you think might be effective for addressing that issue?
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
I'm just wondering what other solutions beyond changing the mindset of individuals might be useful for combating the dangers of social media or of misinformation?
For individual issues, I think to maybe for individual issues, I think social media would affect you in a bad way. And so I think it's important to ask a lot of people because it's something that you can't really solve alone. It's something that you have to gather information from other perspectives. And so I think it's something that you have to solve it from not individual, but with somebody else.
Thank you. A lot of your speech is about the idea of trust, trusting the information, trusting yourself. Why do you think maybe trust is so difficult for us to have today?
Because trust is something that it's hard for us to get. It's when we face some information, it might sometimes because of bias, it would be we trust things because we have biases or some thoughts that we used to have. But trust is something that you have to have after you it's something you build. It's not something you can get easily. And so that's really the core of it. I think that's the main part of it. And so, sometimes social media would affect you in a bad way and make you seem like you trust it, but it's something that you should not. So maybe that's really is such like an illusion. It seems to use something fake. And so I think that's really like the core of it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Confer. Then, Mr. Tokuhisa, please.
Thank you very much, Risa, for your very informative speech. And let me ask you a few questions. First one is that you said that you had an argument with your mother regarding the vaccine. And what was the conclusion that you made?
The conclusion, I told my mother that I thought I was trusting too much of information. And then she also told me that told me the reason why she thought that it was safe. I thought that she was blindly accepting it, but she wasn't. She was actually gathering information from different sources of media, just like I just proposed here. And so, yeah, I realized that she was actually doing what I had to do.
And did you both took the vaccines?
Yes.
Okay. And but still, there are a lot of people in the media, social media, including experts and doctors who talk about the bad aspects of the vaccines. And if one of your close friends would still insist that she or he would believe in such reputation of the COVID vaccine, and once you say you have advised her to use your cube of information system to evaluate it, but he or she still thinks that vaccines would be harmful for her, what would you do after you advise such cube of information method to her or him?
If she or he actually used it and then made a conclusion with it, I think it's the right, well, nothing is right or wrong, but I think that's the right thing for her. And so the cube of information is aims to sort out the information you received objectively. And so if she has done it and then made a conclusion, then that's the right way. And so I think she's not really fooled by the information, but she actually did it right in the right way. So I would really support her opinion.
I see, thank you. And my last question would be that a cube, as you know, has 6 sides or 6 facets. And to gather information to be fit into each of the 6 facets, that would be quite time consuming. And even after pasting such information to the cube, you have to gaze them. And that would also quite be time consuming. And how would you say that such time-consuming method would be effective for making your decisions quickly?
I used the cube. Actually, I used the cube to explain how to think objectively. So I think it's not really necessary for you to use that every time. And I want you to try to use it when making especially important decisions, but maybe sometimes doing it in your daily life so that you can naturally do it in other times. And so you don't really have to get in the idea that you have to use the cube every time, but I think you can use it more with flexibility and try to use it in your own way after you get the idea of using the cube.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tokuhisa. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Confer, Mr. Tokuhisa, and Risa Hirooka.
Thank you.
Next, let me introduce the second speaker. Aoi Matsu from Tsuda University will deliver the speech under the title of How to Be a True Supporter. How to Be a True Supporter. Aoi Matsu, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, the Master of Ceremonies, honorable judges, questioners, and all the organizers. Hello, everyone. I have a precious friend whom I shall call here Ei-chan. She has been my best friend since I was in kindergarten. She is friendly, kind, and cheerful. However, I couldn't notice that she has changed in the past few months. She had a serious mental disease and decided to leave school because she felt a lot of stress during her school life. When I heard that, I was so shocked that I thought I had been always by her side as her true supporter. Why couldn't I prevent my best friend from getting into a deep darkness? I thought about it again and again. However, looking back through my precious time with her, I realized that it was my attitude towards her. I haven't listened to her concerns so much. Today, I'm here to talk about how to be a true supporter. I would like to define this true supporter as someone who can help their loved ones by listening to their concerns. So, I want you to become a true supporter and protect your loved ones before it is too late. Like Ei-chan, as I mentioned, some people cannot express their feelings, even if they have close friends or family. Do they think that it is troublesome to express their true feelings? Is it the environment that makes them keep being in their shells? This kind of symptom has a name called alexithymia. This is a personality trait that makes people have difficulty putting their feelings into words. There are some cases those who have these traits cannot recognize what they feel. Matthias Franz's report in 2007 showed that 1 in 10 people suffers from this symptom. You might think this rate is quite low. However, it can be said that your loved ones might apply to this case. If they couldn't spill out of their concerns, they may cause serious mental illness. Hirahaya Hatsumura, a psychiatrist, says that when people take all of their concerns on themselves, they are likely to have too much stress and depression. So, we need to make an easier environment for them, and that is why I'm standing here and giving this speech. Then, how can we make such an environment? How can we be a good listener and become a true supporter? We must take 2 simple steps. Listen and empathize. Listen to them carefully when your friends started to express their concerns. You don't need to try to make good answers about them. Instead, keep empathizing with their feelings. You can do this by repeating the key words that the person had said. For example, if your friend says, "It's so hard these days," then you can reply, "Oh, you feel so hard. I know how you feel." When your friend notices that you're listening carefully, it will be easier for them to speak up their concerns. According to Carol Rogers, a psychologist, it is important to try to understand what the partner says and empathize with them. This is one of the methods of active listening that he has proposed. Some people might think it is difficult to try this method. However, if you practice it in your daily life, it will probably get better. It doesn't need to be someone's concern, so anyone can do it. At the first time, just being conscious about the 2 steps, listening and empathizing, is also good. I started from that step and gradually tried to repeat those 2 when chatting with others. Later, I overcame my difficulty and even became to be said as a good listener for my friends. Recently, I had a chance to listen to other friends' concerns. I wanted to be her true supporter, so I tried to listen and empathize as much as I could. After doing so, she said with a smile like this, "Thank you for listening to my concerns. I'm happy to be able to speak up my feelings." I was glad to hear those words and realize the importance of being an active listener. When having a conversations with your loved ones, repeating these 2 simple steps, listening and empathizing, will help them. Just staying by their side isn't enough. Listen and empathize. Then you could surely be a true supporter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aoi Hiramatsu. Then we will have a question and answer session. Mr. Carver, please begin.
Thank you very much for your speech on such an important topic. The mental health crisis is something that is being talked about in a lot of situations, and it's being discussed here in Japan. There are many people here that may not have that person like you who listens to them, who is there to listen and to empathize. What do you think could be done as a community, politically, to perhaps help those people that do not have that immediate true supporter, such as yourself?
Thank you for your question. I think for the whole community, I think we need. I think there need to be some of the community that can help. Like for example, that dial, like for those who need help, can call to the community. So I think those kind of community is important as a whole world. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Can you elaborate on exactly what it means to empathize? You talked about repeating what someone says. Could you elaborate on that further, please?
Could you explain the laboratory?
Of course, elaborate. Just tell me a little bit more. Explain to me a little bit more what
Okay.
empathize means to you.
It doesn't need to be someone's concerns, as I said in my speech. For example, it can be a happy episode about the people who of your partner. For example, if your friend says like, I've got a ticket of the I got a concert ticket of my favorite artist, and I'm really happy right now. Then you can reply like, "Oh, you feel like so happy. I know how you feel," like this kind of thing. And yeah, it can be a positive or negative. Yes, it can be both. It can be applied to both situations.
Thank you. And then my last question is, in some cultures, including in Japanese and in some Western cultures, it's very important to be stoic, to be strong emotionally. And so sometimes people are unwilling to share their weakness or when they're having trouble. What would you say to those people that have that as a mentality, as a mindset?
For those people, I still think that it is important to communicate with them, because if they couldn't spill out of their stress, it will cause serious mental illness. So I think it is necessary to keep communicating with the people, those who you mentioned. Yes, that is my answer.
Thank you, Mr. Carver. Then, Mr. Tokuhisa, please begin.
Well, thank you, Hiroko, for sharing your rather hard experience with your friend. And you mentioned that one of your best friends started to have certain symptoms, and you found that it was quite difficult for you to deal with. How did you find out that she was suffering such symptoms, did you ask to her doctor, or did you ask directly to her or to her parents, or how did you find it out?
I found it out from my friend's mother because, we communicate a lot in our daily life. So, I found from her mother.
I see. And you mentioned that one of the reasons why she became she started to have such symptoms would be that you hadn't listened to her well. But do you think that's the only cause that made her having such symptoms? There might have been some other reasons why she got it.
Yeah, I think it is not the only reason, but when having a conversation with her, I mostly talk about myself a lot. So, and I haven't listened about her so much. So, it is. It can be said it is only one cause of it, but I think most of the cause is about me. So I think it is my answer.
I see, thank you. And my last question would be that you mentioned that you had a friend of yours who was quite anxious, and you listened to her carefully, and it seems like that relieved her so much. What were her concerns that you listened to?
I heard about her relationship because she had a difficulty communicating with her another friend, and she couldn't have a good relationship with her friends. So that was her main concern.
Oh, I see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tokuhisa. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Conver, Mr. Tokuhisa, and Aoi Hiramatsu. Next, let me introduce the third speaker. Satuki Maeda from Prefectural University of Kumamoto will deliver the speech under the title of A Helping Year. A Helping Year. Satuki Maeda, please come up to the stage.
Nice to meet you all. I'm overjoyed to be given the opportunity to share my thoughts with everyone present today. I want to express my gratitude to today's judges, everyone in attendance, and everyone behind the scenes who helped to make this event possible. Now, I would like to ask you a question. What thoughts come to mind when you hear the word carer? Is it a nurse working at the hospital? Or is it a care home worker who looks after the elderly? 3 years ago, I would have said the same thing myself. The concept of being a carer as a job makes sense, doesn't it? However, what if I instead said young carer? Perhaps you have already heard this term before, but in case you haven't, let me explain. I would like you now to imagine a junior high school boy who has had to take care of his mentally ill mother from the age of 10. Next, imagine a young lady who had to quit her job in order to take care of her 3 family members. Lastly, imagine a university student looking after her grandparents with her widowed mother whilst juggling university work and a part-time job at the same time. This must not be easy for you to imagine. However, these people are not imaginary. They are real. In fact, one of them is standing before you today. This is my story. I lost my father when I was 4 months old, and since then, I have been living with my grandparent. Since my mother was suddenly a single parent, she was burdened with all the financial responsibility. Because of this, I spent much of my time with my grandparents while she was at work. However, one fateful night, my grandfather had an accident which changed his life and mine. My grandfather had always been a very strong man, a proper Kyushu man. For example, he could carry 120 kilograms of rice all by himself. He was also very active and had lots of hobbies as well, such as golfing, fishing, and DIY projects. Now, he can't even change his clothes by himself. This sudden fall from grace would be difficult for anyone, but for such a strong-willed Kyushu man like my grandfather, is a lot more difficult. To see him become so dependent is very hard. His situation weighs heavily on my heart. It is also that weight which makes me feel that looking after my grandfather is a worthy task. My usual care for him includes helping him when he needs the bathroom. He shuffles to the toilet, and when I hear that shuffling sound, I immediately jump to action to help him. However, one time, he could not make it to the bathroom when I was about to leave for university. Since he did not want me to find out, he tried to clean up the mess himself. While he was cleaning, he was stepping on the mess and accidentally spread it all over the hallway. When I realized what had happened, my instinct was to panic, as I was the only one at home. Somehow I kept a clear head, cleaned him up, changed his clothes, and I still managed to make it to university on time. You all might think it is a tough situation, and yes, you're right. It is indeed a lot of work, but he is family. Even so, he still says to me, "I'm not causing you any trouble. You're not looking after me at all. What exactly do you do for me?" Nothing. I truly understand his anger, frustration, and confusion that he has lost everything that he felt made him a man. The fact that he needs to depend on a woman who is much younger than him must be the ultimate dishonor in his eyes. I deeply understand this. However, being treated as if my efforts are simply what is expected of a dutiful granddaughter is not easy. The hardest part of looking after my grandfather is the fact that there are two dueling feelings constantly at odds within my psyche. I really do want to help him, but the voice in my head is also saying, "Why do I have to be treated like this?" The battle between these two feelings often makes me confused and tired. Now, unlike the paid job, looking after someone in your family is completely voluntary. Even if I did not want to look after my grandfather, it does not mean that I can just up and quit tomorrow. Hence, being a carer makes me a mandatory volunteer, a working oxymoron. Despite this, do you want to know why I can keep going? The answer is simple. It is because I have my mother. When my grandfather is sharp with us, we weep. When we make him happy, we're so happy and we weep. We always share our feelings. As a young adult carer, I personally do not require physical help. Should I have my friends visit my house and help me look after my grandfather? Honestly, it is not the helping hand that I need. What I really need is someone to listen to me and lend me a shoulder to cry on. In other words, what I really need is a helping ear. I hope I've given you a clearer picture of what it means to be a young carer. As a young adult carer, I'm very lucky as I have my mother. However, some young carers do not have anyone to talk to. Therefore, today, I came here to ask all of your favor on behalf of all young carers in Japan. Do you know anyone who lives with their grandparents or disabled person? Could you take a notice when a van from a care home stops by a house in your neighborhood? If so, could you please try to have a conversation with those people who look like they might be mandatory volunteers, like myself? And then, if you could, please be their helping ear. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Satuki Maeda. Then we will have a question and answer session. Mr. Conver, please begin.
Thank you very much for this story, for sharing your story. Very moving, very touching. So you say that you don't need a helping hand, you need a helping ear. And that may be true for you, but there are many people in a similar situation to yours that might need more. What additional help do you think would be useful for people who are in a situation like yours or a more challenging one even? What additional help beyond a helping ear?
I would like to just make sure that your question is that not only about the helping ear, but also helping hand as a physical help.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So that I am a young adult carer, which means that I am I'm older than 18 years old. The young carer term is mentioning about the people under the age of 18. And usually the hardest matter that is discussed in Japan is that young carers who are under 18 years old. And those people are usually really, really young, not like me. And the really thing that they need is that it's like almost that they do not understand, they do not know how different their life from others, because they're so used to their life. So that, oh, I help my mother every day, but I didn't know that it was not the case with others. And I think the solution that I can introduce is one of them is that I think Japanese students all know. However, usually we get an announcement from teachers that if you're sick or if you need to attend to the funeral, please give us the message so that like we all know where you are. And it's all shared and we all know that that's the reason. However, I think in Japan, the rate of the population of the elderly people or the situation is getting higher. So that I think it should be shared as well. So I think that's the thing that I can suggest.
Right. Thank you for that. And then my last question is just that other nations are facing similar issues. Do you believe that Japan has any lesson for other nations or any other nations that might have lessons for Japan to help deal with this?
To answer that question, I would say that right now and currently, I know that England is doing the best for the care for the younger carers, because the term of young carer also was produced from the UK. So that I think there is some solutions that we can find from what they're doing in England, and then the situation, the care home system might be different because of the government's style. However, I think we should learn from the other countries. I think I cannot give you the specific solution that I found from the UK. However, Japan is going definitely stepping forward, but it's still slow. So that I think Japan needs to see not only within the country, but also the other countries.
Thank you, Mr. Conver. Then Mr. Tokuhisa, please.
Well, thank you, Satsuki, for sharing your hard, ongoing experience with your family members. And the first question that I would ask you is, in the outset, you mentioned that you are living with your grandparents, and you talked about your grandfather who collapsed. And I just wondered how your grandmother is doing. Do you have to take care of her as well?
So she's not really needing actual help because she is okay. However, she needs to go to the hospital 3 times a week or something. And when I have my class from second period, I take her to the hospital and something like that. But it's more, I'm trying to help her because when I'm not at home and when my mom is outside for work, basically my grandmother is taking care of my grandfather. So it's really not a healthy situation sometimes when my grandfather falls on the floor, she needs to help him. And that's why I'm trying to help her for just taking her to the hospital also. So she is still okay.
I see, thank you. So that means that you are sharing your caring of your grandfather with your grandmother, but at the same time you have to sometimes take care of your grandmother as well.
Yes.
I see. In that situation, I just wondered, it's similar to the previous question, but would it not be possible for you to ask for some help from the government, like under a social welfare program? There should be a program that would send certain caretaker to the homes of such families, and just wonder if you have tried that.
Thank you for your question. Actually, I know some facility that helps those younger carers, and then there's also hotline service as well. However, to be honest, I am just too busy with the work, so that I think that's almost the same situation for others, and so that. There could be a chance that I can try, but the reason that I can reach out to it is maybe because I do not really want to open up my story to someone else on the phone and then telling that I'm taking care of my grandfather. But the thing is that my friends know that, but my grandfather is very, very stubborn, and he does not really want to. He does not want to really need helps, so that it's just really not comfortable for me to open up my story to someone on the phone or just visiting them. Hi, I need help. Like, it is not really something that I can do. There is also the study that shows that most of them tries to reach out to family or friends, not to the actual hotline service or any other facility. So it is difficult.
I see. Thank you. And my final question would be that you mentioned the importance of having a caring ear. And I just wonder if you yourself have a caring ear around you. Do you have your own caring ear?
Yes. My helping ear is usually my mother. And I recently started to actually open up my story to my close friends. I started with the conversation. It was not like the serious meeting that I just made up, but it was just a hanging out. I just hanged out with that friend, and I just secretly asked her, how is your grandma doing? I remember that I met her a bit ago, and then she told me that actually she is now in the care home, and she did not want to, but she is in. And I remember the last time I saw her was that over 3 years ago, and now the situation has changed, and then she didn't look like she had that situation too. So that was I think she is the helping ear that I have and I can trust right now.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tokuhisa. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Confer, Mr. Tokuhisa, and Satsuki Maeda. Next, let me introduce the fourth speaker. Leo Branch from St. Paul's University will deliver the speech under the title of Extresol. Extresol. Leo Branch, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, Contest Chair, distinguished judges, all of the questioners, organizers, and the audience. Everyone, good afternoon. Thank you. You were the best. I was moved by your speech. This word was conveyed by one of the audience members when I took part in my very first national English speech contest, the 20th Golden Cup. Since I was bullied when I was little, these words felt warm because it felt like they accepted me. As a freshman, I began to think if I could inspire people and become a hero for someone, and by accepting others, many more would accept me. This experience was the birthplace of my passion towards speaking. Also, the concept of the 20th Golden Cup was Yggdrasil, a powerful symbol from Norse mythology that means world tree. Now, this tree is the birthplace of all creations in the myth. And looking at the concept and the words conveyed by the audience lately, I felt like the words were like a seed of a world tree, growing sky high, making me passionate. Since then, the word Yggdrasil has meant the birthplace of my passion. However, time went by and things began to change. In 2022, I took part in various public speaking competitions, winning prizes in some of them. And last year, I ended up with this pressure that I had to be better than the year before. I would often think, what if I lose? What if my club members laugh at me? So last spring, I created a speech to match the judging criteria. I was ready to become the British Barack Obama. But when various open speech contests began, I noticed something wasn't right. During the speech, I was passionate. I had my message to tell, and yet, I couldn't deliver my speech from my heart. I knew, deep down, that the constant pressure of having to win was consuming my soul. I consulted my mum. Hey, Mum, I can't enjoy public speaking because I'm under constant pressure. And she replied, son, see what you have upstairs. There are so many trophies, and it's like the Great Wall of China, but gold. You've got nothing to prove. But that was exactly why I was about to crash. It felt like the past results were whispering, you can't fail. If you fail, you ain't good enough to own me. After 2 months, I was facing this issue. I had the opportunity to visit Osaka to make a speech at Dosha University. But the results were terrible. I got on the night bus heading to Tokyo, feeling depressed. But that piece of depressed experience was the finishing blow. I was tired after the constant pressure of having to win, afraid of results. I was sitting down on the dark night bus, slowly biting my lips, gasping to myself. Perhaps I should retire after the summer contests. But as the bus stopped, I recognized a single message from my wise dad. Now, I had discussed all of the problems the day before, and he didn't say anything then, but he wrote back. Son, I saw your speech. Sorry to hear the results. And sorry about yesterday. I didn't know what to say. But son, you should question why you are making speeches. By all means, continue if you want to. We all love you for who you are, not what you have or can achieve. And that word struck my heart. It was a long time since someone talked to me for not what I had or achieved, but for who I was. And I started to think, why am I making speeches? As the bus stopped, I ran back to my house. I opened the drawer where I put all of my speech documents. I pulled out my very first speech and the leaflet of the 20th Golden Cup. Memories came flashing back like a shooting star. In those days, my seniors helped me to make my first speech. In those days, I got chucked out of the room when I was practicing because I was too loud. And that very day, I found what I could be passionate about. And looking at the speech and the leaflet, I realized that winning was not my purpose. I was writing speeches to help other people. And in my heart, I was a freshman again, seeing what I had lost in the past. Yggdrasil, the birthplace of my passion. And for the first time in almost 6 months, I wanted to make speeches. This story isn't just about my speech life, but a universal question to all of you here. Are you truly aware of why you do what you do? There is always a reason why we start something. That reason ignites our spirits. But in our fast-paced world, it's very difficult to be conscious of our purpose or why we are passionate because other people evaluate what you do instead of why you do it. And while things like goals and results are tangible, passion and purpose are intangible, and we start to think what we do is far more important than why we do it. But if you lack what motivates you, you will end up with a hollow heart like I did. So if you want to be proud of yourself from the bottom of your heart, you have to stick to why you do it. You have to stick to your own Yggdrasil, the birthplace of your passion, whatever it takes. And the easiest way to find your Yggdrasil is to ask yourself, why? And when you are in trouble, ask someone for help. They might give you a hand for you. Unfortunately, this is my last speech as a university student. But let me finish my speech by reclaiming why I was making speeches. My Yggdrasil, my birthplace of my passion, is a single hope I found in the Golden Cup. To be a hero for someone and make people laugh and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leo Branch. Then we will have a question and answer session. Mr. Conver, please begin.
Thank you very much for this, your final speech, reflective one, taking us all the way back to the beginning. My first question for you is about this notion of passion and to what extent or what role you think passion should play in someone's work life or in their career, not just in, not to diminish this, but not in the things that they participate in during university, but after that.
I think passion is very important when working as well. Many people work, well, they have to abide by their own, they just have to accept that they have to earn money. They have to do something for their family, so that sometimes people don't do what they could be passionate about. But I think the purpose of your life is to become happy. And passion makes you happy. Passion makes your life more colorful, valuable, and meaningful. And I think in terms of work, that is also a really, well, most of the time you work. So I think it's a very important thing when working as well.
Thank you. As people get older, their passions change. They grow, they dim. What are you going to do to continue to pursue this passion of yours?
Through speaking, I came to believe that in my case, my happiness is to grow mentally and kind of come down to a certain extent that I could think that I'm valuable as an existence. So I would like to work in order to pursue that growth. And I hope many would find their own purpose and pursue that.
Thank you. I want to shift to something you talked about. You talked about redefining success based on basically your own criteria, your own measure of success. Why do you think that is so hard for people to accept or for people to do? Why do you think we so often rely on others to measure our success?
I think it's because people are scared. Because if you have to think that you are valuable, if you have to think that you can decide your own value by yourself, you have to be responsible for that. And by being responsible, when you fail, you have to take all of that result to your own heart. And people can't face that, I believe. But when you can truly face that, I believe people can change. People can change their definition of success, leading them to happiness.
Thank you, Mr. Conver. Then Mr. Tokuhiso, please.
Okay, thank you, Leo, for a very interesting speech.
Thank you.
And my first question would be that in the first sentence you mentioned the concept of the 20th Golden Cup.
Yes.
And that was Yggdrasil. And I just wonder, I mean, I'm not really sure about this Golden Cup in Yggdrasil. How would you explain such thing? Would you elaborate a little bit more?
Sorry, yeah, of course. So I do belong in a community called the ESS. And the ESS holds various public speaking competitions throughout the world, throughout Japan. And as a freshman, there was this competition called the Golden Cup. And I was a participant in that contest. And that competition's concept was Yggdrasil, which is a world tree in the Norse mythology. And that was a really memorable experience for me because it was my first national public speaking competition.
I see. Thank you very much. And my second question would be that, in short, you were trying to mention that why do you do would be more important than what you do.
Of course, yeah.
I can understand it. But if you start working in the real world and in business environment, you are requested to have your results. Meaning that you're evaluated regarding what you have established or what you have achieved rather than why you do it. And you may not have much time to think about why you do such work. And in that situation, how do you think that you can keep on your Yggdrasil in such busy business environment?
Thank you very much. You gave me a really important point. So this is a really difficult issue. So results and your passion. It can't be the same always. But I always believe that's why you have to find your own passion and purpose, because if you can find that, you are most likely to be motivated, you are most likely to work with blood and sweat and be able to earn a good result in your business environment. So rather than choosing your job by how much the business model creates, rather than that, you have to think, okay, how much I could be passionate to this work or business. And if you could perfect that, you are most likely to maximize your own income or position because you could be passionate, you could be able to do that. So these things seem different, but I believe it's always the same thing, but it's on the other way around.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tokuhisa. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Comfort, Mr. Tokuhisa, and Leo Branch.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for us to welcome the fifth speaker. Sakura Tanaka from Kyoto Prefectural University will deliver the speech under the title of Start with Yourself. Start with Yourself. Sakura Tanaka, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, the master of the ceremony, questioners, honorable judges, and all of the organizers of this show. Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. Did you enjoy your snacks? Let me just start my speech. So, have you ever thought of being forced to wear what you don't want to wear? For me, for you, and for most people in Japan, it is a very natural thing that we have limitless choices on what we wear every day. However, in some countries in the world, people are forced to wear the certain things, costumes or items which they don't like to wear. So please tell me, is it free when somebody tells you to wear what you don't want? As a child, I always dreamed of going abroad. I was very curious about the world outside of my house. I never been abroad, so last year I left my home and I went to Europe all alone. So I was adventurous and passionate about finding something stimulating. I was looking for something that would guide me in a better direction so that I could step out of my comfort zone. As a 19-year-old girl, I wanted to change myself. Throughout the year-long journey, I have met a lot of people from different backgrounds. At one point, I realized I had had some kind of stereotypes on people's appearances. Of course, I knew, before going there, I knew people would be different from what I was used to. But I found myself judging them on my own norms. So, yeah, and during the time I spent in Europe, I met a lot of people from different backgrounds, and I've met a lot of cultures. And one thing surprised me the most was the way they dressed themselves, because it was quite different from one another, and depending on their culture, of course. And they seemed very confident in it. That experience made me aware that clothes could be very impactful things to show and express yourself. Your culture, your personality, and your identity, all of them could be reflected in your appearance, not necessarily a physical one, but your clothes. So, what do we wear clothes for? To show our identity, or to show our cultural or ethnic background, or do we just have to cover the body not to be arrested? Whatever the reason is, we like wearing clothes and we enjoy it, right? Last year, when I was still traveling in Europe, I was traveling for nearly a year, I read one very tragic news. An Iranian woman named Mahsa Amini, you might have heard of her name, she was arrested for not wearing a headscarf, which is so-called hijab. She was caught by police in Tehran train station in September 2022 because she went off unveiled. After 3 days in custody, she suddenly died. It's been a year and more. Nothing has been reported about what happened to her in custody. Her death generated a global movement called Women, Life, Freedom, calling for an end to Iran's imposition of a headscarf on women. Triggered by her death, a considerable number of people have joined the protest for women's dignity, equality, and freedom. Despite the protest, by the way, more than 20,000 of people have reportedly been arrested, and unfortunately 7 of them were even executed. Can you imagine how horrifying this is for Iranian women? I really wish her death was a game changer. I really wish her massive courage had changed the situation. We are women. We are not supposed to be oppressed by any power, either politically or religiously. We can do whatever we want. For example, we can do makeup on. We are women. We like wearing makeup too. And we can do any hairstyle we want. And we can be anything we want to be, right? And this is a human being stuff. And so, yeah. And if you want to change the world, start with yourself, said Mahatma Gandhi, an Indian activist very long time ago. And what I mean by this quote is, this is the time you stop judging people on your own scale. And this is the time you welcome the new with your open arms instead of sticking to the old-fashioned stereotypes. Stereotypes are, by the way, are made by society, and we are a part of society. So I was thinking, what if every one of us leaves the stereotypes? It could be the strongest weapon to change the world, couldn't it? So, if you leave your stereotypes behind and try to stop judging people on your own scale, the world can potentially change for all women. If you want to change the world, start with yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sakura Tanaka. Then we will have a question and answer session. Mr. Conver, please begin.
Thank you very much for your speech about changing society. So you talk about norms and you talk about judging people based on your norms. Do you think norms have any value in society? Are they important at all?
Yeah, basically, I think norms are what people have naturally and unwillingly and unintentionally, I guess. And it is natural to have some stereotypes or biases or norms on your own scale. And this is not what I mean in my speech. But the thing is, you unintentionally, you don't even know you judge people on your own scale, the stereotypes. So, yeah, that's the point I wanted to pinpoint. So,
thank you for that clarification. What lessons do you think Japan could learn from the cultures that you encountered or you visited during your year in Europe that you think would help make Japan a better place?
That's quite a good question, because I've been more than 15 countries in Europe all alone, and I've met a lot of cultures out there, and generally speaking, Japan's society is very equalified. And, looking out on the outside of Japan, society might be stratified quite intensely. And so, what's really the point? What was the question again? Sorry.
A particular lesson from one of the cultures that you encountered that you think would be valuable for Japan?
Oh yeah, of course. So, understanding the core concept of the culture and of course showing the respect for everyone. For everyone basically.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is, you talk about change beginning with one person, that we have to change ourselves. That could be a very slow change for society to change. What do you think would be the greatest barrier, the greatest challenge to this one person at a time change?
I would say, for example, social media has become the biggest commodity in 21st century, and social media, I believe, should be the place where people express themselves freely with no constraints, So on that scale, people probably can express themselves, but one person, for example, leaves good comment, either good comment or bad comment on social media where people can see, and people easily neglect that person, attack the person, and that's one of the most dangerous thing about social media and about one person just trying to change the world, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Koffer. Then Mr. Tokuhisa, please.
Okay, thank you, Sakura, for giving us that interesting speech. And my question would be, the first one would be that I sympathize what happened to the Iranian lady, and I can understand your feelings. But at the same time, that wearing the scarves should come from certain religious beliefs. And have you researched why in Islamic religion that kind of tradition or restriction would be imposed to women?
That's exactly what I was looking for here. And yeah, I knew some people would ask this question. But unfortunately, because, I'm not religious, obviously, as most people in Japan, non-religious people. So I'm not an expert of the core reason of wearing a headscarf on women and why the government always sticks to this dress code rule. So yeah, to this question, I haven't searched yet.
Okay, thank you very much. And as you traveled in European countries just for about a year, and I understand you have met various kinds of people, including immigrants from Islamic countries. And especially in France, there are a lot of immigrants from Islamic countries. And do you know that once the French government restricted the women to wear headscarves in public at school?
Oh, did it actually?
Yes, and so this means that there are certain number of women who want to wear such scarves in public, especially not only in their home countries, but also in foreign countries or the countries that they emigrated. And how do you think about such phenomenon?
That's very debatable. That's up for discussion. But I understand. Yeah, obviously some people want to stick to their own culture, and preserve their culture. And that's a very beautiful thing, obviously. But on the flip side to it, some people don't want to as well, right? So both of the decision should be respected at any cost. Obviously the women who want to wear a scarf should be respected. And they should be wearing that too.
Yes, that's right. And so does it mean that those women who want to wear headscarves are against the changing of the world? Or do you think that it would be necessary for us to respect such religious or cultural background so that everybody can live peacefully in the world.
Yeah, they might be against, you're right. Yeah, you're truly right. They might be against the rule, the dress code rule, but at the same time, we have rights to respect them at any cost. Everyone respects it. So, either they want to or they don't want to. Any decisions should be respected. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tokuhisa. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Confer, Mr. Tokuhisa, and Sakura Tanaka.
Thank you very much.
Next, let me introduce the sixth speaker. Riu Morimitsu from Tokyo Keizai University will deliver the speech under the title of Feel and Sense, Pen and Paper, and Step by Step. Feel and Sense, Pen and Paper, and Step by Step. Riu Morimitsu, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, honorable judges, questionnaires, and all the organizers today. Good afternoon, everyone. It was a freezing day in the middle of last January. I was riding my bicycle far, far away from home with an icy headwind blowing on my face. I was crying loudly, shouting and screaming louder than I had ever let out before, trying to disappear somewhere where no one would find me. I glanced at my side and saw a wide river flowing gracefully. The reflection of the morning glow was breathtakingly beautiful, which starkly contrasted with the indignation of my heart. The night before the day I back along the river, I heard something from the person I dearly loved, my mother. Ran, I need to talk to you. She was the kindest and most considerate person I had ever known. After a long pause, she said, I've decided to get a divorce from your father. I felt like a thunderbolt had struck my head. Can you imagine the person who has been by my side since I was born, who has been like the sun and the light of my life, suddenly gone from home? All night, my heart was enraged like a tornado, while my mind was frozen like an iceberg. The next thing I knew after riding the bike was that I was at a cafe. I had a cup of tasteless coffee and a pile of tissues. I kept crying and crying, wondering, why me? Why my family? Why my mother and my father? I couldn't figure out the answer to the question until the end. Only thing I was able to do was to tell myself, this should be my fate. I tried very hard to think this way. Yet, my life without my mother drastically changed from what it used to be, and I struggled terribly to find my way. It was an utterly dark period. I couldn't go to classes. I lost energy to go outside or even to get up in the morning. I hated dinner time, which I used to love because it reminded me of my mother's cooking. Every day, my schedule was empty, but my heart was wrenched with so many emotions. As I experienced, our lives could become upside down, as if we stood on our heads rather than our feet. Today, I'd like to share my ideas in coping such an ordeal in our lives. The 3 steps I propose are first, to feel all your emotions. Second, write down all the emotions that you felt. And finally, challenge yourself with a series of new things. First, in my room alone, I decided to be keenly aware of all my emotions while sharpening and honing all my senses. Is it anger? Sadness? Or loneliness? What do I feel regretful about? My mother who left me? Or myself who couldn't do anything for my family? By sensing and analyzing my emotion, I could be much less anxious and become aware of my own emotion and their possible causes. Second, I wrote them down on a piece of paper in front of me. All day, I cried and wrote, cried and wrote, and cried and wrote. By the end of the day, my room was filled with a tremendous amount of paper. Then, gradually, I found myself comforted and refreshed as my messy thoughts and emotions became fairly neatly organized. Writing also clarified the following actions I needed to take. Finally, as soon as I woke up the next morning, I went to a cafe and made a list of everything that I could possibly do to move forward with my life. By the time I had written down all my ideas, my heart was filled with a desire to achieve each of these goals and started to wonder where to start and how to do it. Over the next 6 months, I took on numerous challenges one by one, all of which were new to me. I cooked dishes with original recipes, did bungee jumping, traveled alone for a week, wrote a book, entered coaching seminar, and finally became a coaching team leader. When almost all the challenges were done, I was filled with renewed self-confidence. In other words, I could stop thinking about what I could not change. Instead, I could focus on what I could change. Getting out of the box only once might not have made a sizable change, but all of those tiny little and sometimes huge challenges have accumulated and made me who I am today. I am now standing here with complete confidence and genuine desire to share the lessons I've learned from my life. I believe that in this way, step by step, I will expand my comfort zone and circle of influence. I don't know when or how that challenge will come to fruition, but I have no doubt that it will all make sense in the future. Looking back, I became more considerate and resilient through this experience. I can now truly say that I'm blessed to have such an admirable mother and father and all the remarkable people who supported me while I was down in the dumps. Sometimes life throws us a curveball, and we are confronted with the devastating situations. A failure in exams and job hunting, being suddenly laid off, falling with severe disease, breakups, loss of a loved one, and so forth. But I believe that these experiences are there to help us grow farther. So when it happens, feel your emotions, write them down, and with the energy you gain by doing so, take on a series of new challenges. Then the time will come when you can embrace and even savor them. Because as the author of a chapter of the Chicken Soup for the Soul says, everything happens for a reason. Now, I'm full of hope for the future. And my life is flowing like the river with the stunning morning glow that I saw on that winter day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Riu Morimitsu. Then we will have a question and answer session. Mr. Carver, please begin.
Thank you very much for sharing your story and your inspirational speech. My first question is, you talk about writing as being therapeutic, as being an essential step. Why do you think writing is therapeutic and can be?
Okay, thank you for your question. One of my favorite books, Writing Meditation, said that writing suppress our anxiety and stress and change negative thinking to positive thinking. And so And writing is forcing people to translate the experience into words, into languages. And it is slowing down the thought process. So I think that is what happened to me, yes.
Are you able to share with us what your book was about that you wrote?
It was kind of a short stories, and I like writing books, so I just gathered some short stories into a big book, but I've never showed to anyone, so it's kind of embarrassing for me.
Again, writing is personal therapy. What other resources do you think could be important for helping people that are in a situation such as yours, people facing a very challenging home situation? What other resources do you wish you had had access to that might have helped you?
Okay, thank you for the question. I actually overcame these difficulties alone. But if there was some communities or professional counselor or someone who I can access them easily, that might be good for me at the time. But yeah, it was a good experience that I could deal with it by myself.
Actually, I'm going to continue. I've got time for another one here. Have you been able to play a supportive role for anyone? And now that you have learned this lesson and learned how challenging it is and how to move through it, have you had the opportunity to guide someone through a similarly difficult situation?
Does that mean that I told this story to others?
Yes, or guided them, been a mentor, been a guide for someone as they were trying to get through a challenging situation.
Thank you. Yes, when I was last year, I went to study abroad in Australia, and at the time, there was a friend who faced difficulties with her host families, and at the time, I regularly made a time to communicate with her and support her to listen to her stories and give advice, and did that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conver. Then, Mr. Tokuhisa, please.
Okay, thank you, Rand, for sharing your very precious experience and the way you have overcome your hard situation. And my first question would be that when you were really distressed, when you first heard of your tragedy or whatever it is called, how did you come up with these 3 steps? Did anyone tell you about it, or did you learn it by reading books, or did you find it by yourself?
Okay, thank you for the question. I came up with this idea when I was in my room alone. Like for the first month or so, I had no idea what should I do and I had no energy to do something else. And I strongly avoided feeling my emotion because I thought it would just make me sad and mad. But the idea didn't help me even after 2 months. So I realized that I needed to do something different. And that's when I came up with this idea to do the exact opposite thing, which is feel and sense my emotion. So yes, I kind of came up with this idea by myself.
I see, thank you. And how long did it take for you to complete all of these 3 steps and become more confident as you are now?
Okay, at least it took me half a year to overcome this situation. And there are so many difficulties after my recovery, of course. So it's hard to answer that whether I am completely fine or not, but yeah, totally it took more than half a year to overcome.
I see. Okay, then you mentioned that now you are recovered and full of hope. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder what new challenges you are thinking about that you are about to start.
Okay, Thank you. The little challenge that I'm going to do next month is do a full marathon. And the big one is one of the biggest goals in my life is to be a professional coach who can support others to achieve their goals that they really wanted to achieve. And I know that it's so challenging, but I kind of have a hunch that I can be a professional coach if I follow these 3 steps.
I see. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tokuhisa. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Conver, Mr. Tokuhisa, and Riu Morimitsu. Next, let me introduce the 7th speaker. Shiori Hiramoto from Tokyo Metropolitan University will deliver the speech under the title of A Little Courage and a Little Knowledge. A Little Courage and a Little Knowledge. Shiori Hiramoto, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, honorable judges, and all the organizers. Good afternoon, everyone. Have you ever found yourself craving for more excitement in your life? Or perhaps wondering if there is a way to escape from the monotony of your daily routine? Well, recently, I've been seeing a lot of people spending their holidays doing nothing in particular, just scrolling through social media on their smartphones, killing time. So how do we break free from this routine? It's simple. Learn something new. It could be something you may not be particularly interested in, or a subject you've never liked before. Why not choose something interesting? Because chances are you're already learning about it. Delving into something you dislike or find uninteresting may require a bit of effort, but beyond that effort lies a delightful touch to your life. Today, based on my own experience, I'd like to tell you how a little knowledge of things about something you're not interested in can positively impact your life. Currently, I'm pursuing a degree in mechanical engineering at university, and I'm part of a research lab that develops robots. I also joined the robotics club at my university and participated in student robotics competitions. I find it incredibly exciting to be able to learn and engage in such activities. However, as a child, I never envisioned myself delving into the realm of university-level engineering, especially in the field of robotics. The very notion of mastering the intricate mathematical concepts essential for robot development seemed insurmountable, as I harbored a strong aversion to mathematics at the time. Let me tell you a story. I vividly remember a moment from my 3rd grade in elementary school. It was during a math class when my classmates and I were handed a sheet with some problems to solve. The instructions were clear. Complete the sheet, turn it in, and begin the next one. Everyone started solving the problems at the same time, and I worked diligently on my sheet. As time passed, I noticed my classmates started finishing and receiving the next sheets one after another. Meanwhile, I found myself still grappling with the first half of mine. Despite putting in my best efforts, the task seemed never-ending. When I finally submitted my work, the teacher's words stung. "You're the slowest in the class. Try a bit harder." It was the first time I felt a sense of inferiority. Questions flooded my mind. Why am I the last one? I worked so hard. How can everyone else solve these problems so quickly? Maybe I don't have any talent for math. From that moment onward, I developed a dislike for math. I convinced myself it wasn't my strength, lost interest, and inevitably, my grades suffered. But a turning point came. When I was in middle school, a JAXA staff member came to give a lecture about creating artificial satellites and launching them into space. He talked about the excitement of building something and controlling it remotely, which intrigued me immensely. That's when I began considering a path in engineering. However, engineering inevitably involves mathematical knowledge, so I decided to buckle down and start studying math to become an engineer. I still disliked math, but I tried my best to improve. Nevertheless, I still scored much lower than my classmates. I felt disheartened, thinking, I knew math wasn't for me. And I failed the entrance exam for university. But I didn't want to give up. After graduating from high school, I studied for one more year for the entrance exam, and I finally entered university as a mechanical engineering major. After starting university, my interest in robotics grew. Studying robotics, of course, required mathematical understanding. Although learning the equations was initially challenging, the satisfaction of applying them to move actual robots was immense. Solving math problems, which once gave me a sense of inferiority, had now become something enjoyable, especially when applied practically. Even now, I don't consider myself particularly skilled in math. My classmates have a better understanding of it. However, I don't compare myself to them anymore. Instead, I ask them for help when I'm stuck on problems. They generously help me to understand, and when I see the connections between the math I've learned and its application to robots, it brings me so much joy. Until I entered my university, I viewed mathematics as something vaguely necessary for working with robots. I didn't quite get how those equations were practically applied in the field of robotics. Learning it felt like a necessity, but I wasn't exactly enthusiastic about it. However, as soon as I realized where that knowledge is needed and how it's used in real-world scenarios, my interest in those equations suddenly sparked, making them so much more intriguing. When you're in the process of learning something new, even if you feel like you're not as good as others, there's really no need to dwell on feelings of inferiority. What's crucial is not caring about how others excel in what you're trying to learn. Just focus on embracing new knowledge and finding joy in applying it when the opportunity arises. Through this experience, I've come to realize that even if something isn't initially a cup of tea, a bit of studying and connecting acquired knowledge to real-world applications can significantly boost your interest. When diving into a new subject, there is no need to feel overwhelmed by the prospect of mastering everything at once. Consider a visit to a museum, for example. Without prior knowledge of paintings or sculptures, the experience might seem less captivating, resulting in surface-level observations like, oh, that's a painting of a woman in black attire, or, oh, that's a sculpture of a nude man. However, armed with even a little information about art, such as recognizing the painting before your eyes is the Mona Lisa by Da Vinci, or that the sculpture in front of you is Michelangelo's David, can spark a newfound interest, and it might even prompt you to delve deeper into the subject. Acquiring a bit of knowledge has the power to bring richness to your life, even in areas you might not have considered your forte. Exploring fields or subjects that you once thought weaknesses or lacked interest in may demand a bit of courage. However, constantly comparing yourself to others, feeling inferior, deeming something unsuitable, or avoiding learning due to past disinterest could actually be limiting your potential to discover the pleasures of life. With a little courage and a little knowledge, life can become significantly more enriching. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, your Hiramoto. Then we will have a question and answer session. Mr. Confer, please begin.
Thank you very much for sharing that story, and congratulations on the study that you do. That's great. I'm curious about this message of comparison being the thief of joy, if you've heard that saying before, that when we compare ourselves to others, we will always be unhappy. Why do you think that message is so important that you've chosen to focus on that for this?
So I think just now I pursue a degree in mechanical engineering, and now I really find it interesting to learn these kind of subjects. I really wanted to share my experience. I really wanted to convey my message that it's really, you really don't have to think about how others are really good at things that you're trying to learn. And well, I think when people feel inferior, I think they're trying to aim for something that they're aim to achieve something, but they can't. Like, for example, if they want to get a good score on an exam, no matter how hard they try, they cannot achieve that score, so they feel inferior. But I think scores at first doesn't matter. The important thing about learning something is just to find joy and to be interested in. And I think that kind of stimulates your intellectual curiosity, and then you want to learn deeper into the subject. So, well, yeah, I wanted to convey this kind of message. So,
I think it's a good message. Thank you. My next question is about, can you imagine yourself going back to that elementary school classroom? What do you think could be done in those situations in a school classroom to better build self-confidence rather than tearing down, building students up so that they find that passion, they find that self-confidence?
I think that, well, what the teacher could do is to not just to teach the equations, for example, math, not just to teach equations or the formulas, theories. They can first maybe teach how it's used in the real world, how it's applied. And then afterwards, get into the theory. For example, I teach at cram school, and I remember there was this one boy who really hated math, and he was an elementary school student. So he was telling me that I would never need addition in my whole life, and I would never need multiplication in my whole life. So I took out my laptop and show it to him. And in my laptop, I have this software called 3D CAD. CAD stands for computer-aided design. And you can actually 3D model any kind of thing, like even cars. And then you can even 3D print it afterwards. And I showed him this software, and I told him, okay, let's 3D model my phone. And he was very happy. He was very willing to do the multiplication and addition problems, because if you need this addition and multiplication calculation to determine the dimension of the phone that we're trying to make. So, well, yeah, he was very willing to do these calculation and multiplication problems, and I was also happy. He was enjoying doing the things that he never liked, and yeah. So for the general advice, I would say maybe the teacher should teach something how it can be actually applied in the real world.
Thank you, Mr. Confer. Then Mr. Tokuhisa, please.
Well, thank you, Shiori, for sharing your very precious experiences. And my first question would be that now you are majoring in mechanical engineering, and I just wonder how you have come up with especially specializing in robotics. How did you come to be interested in robotics?
Okay. Well, actually, so as I mentioned in the speech, I was first interested in this lecture where Jack's staff member came to talk about these excitement of building something and controlling it remotely. It didn't necessarily have to be something that operates up into up in the space. I was really interested in this part where you can build something on your own and it moves automatically on its. I mean, of course, you have to program, but it moves automatically on its own. And after entering university, I heard that there is this robotics exhibition that everyone goes as a mechanical engineering major. And I joined this robotics exhibition, and I saw all these cute robots, and also like there's industrial robot arm that can operate, that can even hold up these car. And I was very impressed by this creation, and I was also like very curious, and I was asking a lot of questions about this exhibition that they had. And yeah, I think that moment was my first time I felt really like interested in robotics.
I see. Thank you very much. And then after those experiences, do you have any idea of what kind of robots you would like to create in the future? Is that industrial or pet-like robots?
That's a very good question. Well, actually, I'm interested in two robots. Like one is a really cute robot. Like there is these robot pet. Like it's in the field of service robots. Like like when you go to a restaurant and there's this cat robot that serves the dishes for you, and these robots are really cute, and I really also like cats, so I really want to build a robot that is like cute and maybe shaped like a cat, and you can also do other tasks like serving or like, I don't know, curing other people's mental health, or and the other thing, like the other robot that I'm interested in is that the robot that can collect the microplastic in the ocean. So there are a lot of robots already. There are a lot of robots developed in other countries like Germany. There's this robot that can collect the microplastic in the ocean. But I was also like, I was curious, like, why isn't like that distributed around the country? So I thought maybe like there is this problems with the cost of implementing the robot in the ocean, because like these robots, sometimes it's a little bit too expensive to operate. So I thought I can maybe like make something that is not that costly, but can work efficiently in collecting the microplastic in the ocean. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you are quite successful in your future career.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tokuhisa. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Confer, Mr. Tokuhisa, and Shiori Hiramoto. Next, let me introduce the last speaker. Risa Yamamoto from Kwansei Gakuin University will deliver the speech under the title of Better Safe Than Sorry. Better Safe Than Sorry. Risa Yamamoto, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, the Master of Ceremony, distinguished judges, questioners, and all organizers. Good afternoon, everyone. The Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower. I was on a French subway train, and about 8 children were asking me with troubled faces. At the next station, all the children got off the train. Just before the train door closed, a boy threw something into the train. I looked at the flying object and realized that it was a wallet. "Oh my God, my wallet!" I shouted. In a hurry, I picked up my wallet and looked inside. But all my money was gone except for my credit cards. I was planning a solo month-long trip around Europe last spring, and it happened on the second day I arrived in Europe. Today, I want to give you a heads up about my embarrassing misadventures. Some of you might say, it's none of my business because I don't travel abroad very often. But is it really none of your business? What is the incidence of pickpockets in Japan? According to the National Police Agency's crime statistics, in 2022, there were 1,112 cases. In 2023, people who didn't go out because of COVID-19 started going out in Japan. And in 2023, there were 1,443 cases. This data shows an increase of more than 300 cases in 2023 compared to 2022. Pickpockets are, of course, the worst, and I want the police to tighten security and catch the pickpockets. I also think the government should remind everyone about pickpockets. But today, I want to tell you how to prepare when we become the target and prevent it from being stolen. When I saw the wallet from which all my money had been taken, anger and regret overwhelmed me. The fond memories go dark in a moment when we become the victim. We lose a lot of things, not just the ones that are taken. We lose our calmness from the fear of being targeted, and we lose confidence in ourselves. We also lose a lot of time and money it takes to reissue things. I don't want you to experience this. In my case, I had credit cards with me, so I was able to continue my journey. I thought I was just unlucky in France. But I had my wallet with my credit card stolen again in Italy. I used my smartphone to pay for hotel accommodations by putting my credit card number on the internet. However, I wasn't able to buy anything when I couldn't pay using my phone at the shop. So, what I brought back to Japan was not a souvenir, but a story about a pickpocket trip. I finally realized that I wasn't just unlucky, I was being targeted. I think many people like me have never been seriously aware of pickpockets. I think it's because we don't have a sense of danger about pickpockets in a safe environment. I'll give you a piece of data. Here's a ranking of countries with good security. According to the Non-Bill Crime Index by Country 2023, Japan ranks 8th. From this data, there are people who think that Japan is a safe country and forget to be cautious. Is your bag zipped? Aren't you walking around with your phone in your pocket? If the question applies to you, you might become the target. My point today is to remind people to be cautious in Japan as well as abroad. After the COVID-19 pandemic, the number of people who go out has suddenly increased. According to JTB Corporation Travel Trend Forecast for 2023, the number of domestic and overseas travelers is expected to increase to 274.4 million. This is about twice the population of Tokyo. The days of staying home have come to an end, and for pickpockets, there are many targets. According to the Sankei Shimbun, the Hyogo Prefectural Police arrested 3 Romanian nationals on suspicion of theft in May. The theft is said to be because, in Japan, crime prevention awareness is low and pickpocketing is easy. This arrest is just an example of what happened in Japan, and I think it's the tip of the iceberg. Better safe than sorry is the keyword we need to keep in mind. It is the proverb, and it means that you can never be too careful. I think it's better to work on not having your important things taken than to regret it. I wanted to do 4 simple things. The keyword is BSTS, which I made from the acronym of this proverb, better safe than sorry. BSTS stands for bag, smartphone, time, and separate. Bag. Please put valuables in the back of your bag. Put something on top so that important things are not easily found. Finally, please tighten the zipper of the bag. Smartphone. Please do not operate or talk on the phone while walking. If you operate on the phone while walking or absorbed in talking on the phone, you will be distracted from your surroundings. Time. People become less alert over time. While traveling in Europe, I got used to traveling and became less wary of pickpockets as time went on. I never thought I'd be pickpocketed twice. Separate. Please keep cash and credit cards separate. If you put cash and credit cards together in one place, you will lose everything in case of theft. Dispersal is important. I was pickpocketed twice in Europe and lost my money and credit cards. When I couldn't buy food, a member of the staff in the hotel I was staying at generously offered her pocket money to buy me a quiche and a cup of coffee. I was touched by the kindness of people. Since I became aware of BSTS, I have not encountered pickpockets. Wherever you are, I want you all to create happy memories without being pickpocketed. Please, always remember, better safe than sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa Yamamoto.
Thank you.
Then we will have a question and answer session. Mr. Conver, please begin.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your advice. I needed that advice. I was traveling in Italy myself a couple of months ago and was very, very cautious. And so my question is actually about that. How do you suggest that a traveler who hears your message and could say, wow, someone was targeted twice, how do you balance enjoyment of a place with caution?
Mm-hmm. I think it's really important to enjoy, of course. However, I think we all need to think about the risks that is sticking. However, if you follow the BSTS method, I think there will be lower risks, so you won't be so much afraid and you can enjoy that place.
Fair answer. Do you have any hesitation about traveling now?
Could you say
Are you hesitant to travel now? Do you have any sort of negative trauma from this that keeps you from traveling?
At that moment, when I was pickpocketed, I was so panicked. However, after a lot of research and after doing the BSTS method my own in Japan, I was not pickpocketed since that moment. So I think through my experience, I am now willing to go somewhere else.
My next question is going to turn a little bit. So the first experience you describe is about being robbed by children, which is kind of a shocking, surprising thing. How did you feel about that aspect of that you encounter people who buy you food and buy you coffee and you are robbed by children? What do you have to reflect on about that?
I think I was scared of people. I was scared of kids at that moment since I was never pickpocketed before. However, through my kind experience in Europe, I realized that not all people are really bad abroad. I realized that you need to be really careful, but you don't need to be too much afraid of people itself, I'll say.
All right, and then my last question is just going to be, what was a solid memory? What was a wonderful memory that you could use to balance out these particular memories?
I would say during my trip, I didn't have money, so I wasn't able to explore a lot. However, the view, the atmosphere, the people who's singing on the street, and the smell that is coming from the bakeries, all those moments were really special to me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conver. Then Mr. Tokuhisa, please.
Okay, thank you, Lisa, for sharing your bad experiences as well as the idea that we have to take into consideration. And my first question would be that when you got robbed, pickpocketed in France and Italy, did you report that to the police? And if you did, what were their reactions?
I really didn't have enough time to go to the police since I noticed that you will be stuck in the police office for like more than 12 hours or something. So I really didn't go there. However, I noticed that when I came back to Japan, I was thinking about going to the police or not, even though in Japan. However, that was a great idea that I realized that if my credit card is used abroad, they can handle it if you go to the police in Japan. So if somebody here, I hope not, but if somebody here and if you are pickpocketed and you have your credit card stolen, please go to the police in Japan so that you can stop the credit cards. And if it's used, you don't have to pay that. So that's my suggestion.
I see. Well, I was just curious about how the police in France and Italy reacted to your situation, but you actually didn't go to the police. Okay. My next question would be that, as you mentioned, after the COVID-19 situation has improved, and a lot of people, especially from foreign countries, are now traveling in Japan. And you mentioned that some Romanian nationals were arrested because of the pickpocketing or robbing in Hyogo. And do you imply to say that such visitors from foreign countries would be certain, what shall I say, causes to deteriorate Japanese security situation? Or you just provided an example of, you have to be careful about it?
I do not want to specify any countries. I think it doesn't really matter. All the countries doesn't matter. I think it was just because that news was big, it was reported. However, there are a lot of people, like also Japanese, who are pickpocketing. So I don't want to say that foreigners is making those problems. I think all of us might have risks in some cases. So I want to tell you that there are risks all in the country.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tokuhisa. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Confer, Mr. Tokuhisa, and Risa Yamamoto.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to begin the closing ceremony. To begin with, the judges will give us some comments about today's speeches. Firstly, Mr. Dwayne Confer will give us some comments. Mr. Confer, would you please come up to the stage?
Thank you once again to IIBC for this event and for hosting it, for inviting me back, for the opportunity, and thank you to all of the speakers, first and foremost, for all of the time and passion that you put into this. Just some brief notes. It's always a pleasure to come to always, my second time doing it. It was such an eye-opening experience last year into the skill and the culture of speaking another language that you all dedicate so much time and effort to. So that was wonderful. I wanted to talk about the two themes that I saw really emerge from all of today's speeches. So the first one, this notion of change. All of you spoke about change in some way, whether that is change in your life, change your attitude, change your view on the world, or if it was change in the broader community, change in those immediate people around you, your most immediate community. And I just applaud that, first of all, the civic mindedness of all of you in caring for those near and dear to you, as well as caring for those in the broader community, was very admirable and very clear in every single one of your speeches. The second theme was the importance of listening. And again, this wasn't necessarily every single one with that particular word, but the notion of it, the idea of listening to each other and listening to ourselves even, and whether that's empathizing, whether that's just lending it an ear, whatever that form that listening needs to take, you all were crystal clear that we have to do that. We need each other. We need to rely on each other. So I appreciated that very much. And as part of that is speaking. Also, I love that this is the culmination of many months of participation in speaking competitions and in practice on your part. You obviously put a great value on communication, and I appreciated that. In terms of actual performance, I want to talk about the Q&A. So obviously the question and answer period this time was extended from the 4 minutes of last year to 6 minutes. And that really speaks to how important that was in making our decisions and in allowing you to stand out, moving beyond a speech that you have practiced so many times in your head that you probably dreamed the speech, but to actually respond in a question and answer when you have no idea, when it's a strange accent, when maybe he reads or speaks a little too quickly, for you to be able to respond and dialogue in that moment is really the true skill of communication. And many of you were able to show, all of you were able to show your capacity to do that. Once again, it separated people. Then my final encouragement for you is just to continue to seek opportunities to practice your English, to practice whatever other languages you accomplished people may speak. But to practice it and to take risks, to put yourself into challenging situations, and to see all of that as an opportunity for you to grow as a learner, for you to grow as a person. So thank you once again for all of the work that you did. It was genuinely a pleasure, and the best of wishes to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Confer. Next, Mr. Toru Tokuhisa will give us some comments. Mr. Tokuhisa, please.
Well, hello. And once again, thank you very much for, whoops, is it on? Okay. I'd like to appreciate IIBC for letting me have this great opportunity to act as a judge as well as a questioner. And I would like to congratulate all the participants of the excellent speeches that they have made. I was really amazed that you all have performed that way, and probably I will not myself be able to do the similar performance as he have done, but congratulations for you all. And having said that, let me give you a few comments that I have noticed. And as you know, in a speech, it is most important that you have to make yourselves understood. And I'm sure you have succeeded that part very much. But at the same time, I have noticed that some of you, your articulation sometimes flopped. And it is very important to speak distinctly and clearly. And in some cases, it would be better for you to speak slowly as much as possible so that the point that you want the audience to understand would be fully understood. And another point would be that, of course, the content of the speech. And I'm sure you have edited your speech for many times, and you have come up with that speech. But the important thing is also to have certain logic. And in order to make things understood by the audience would be, this is something that has been around for decades, but a tip would be that you have to use 5 W's and 1 H, which stand for, 5 W's are who, what, when, where, and why. And 1 H would be how. So in your presentation, it is very important to include those 6 interrogatives so that your logic would be very easily understood by the audience. And of course, as he mentioned before the questions and answers. The questions and answer session would be very important. That would let us judges see how well you can understand the questions as well as how well you can respond to such questions. So I would like you to practice not only just speaking or making speeches, but also to respond to such questions and answers session. And the last comment that I would like to make is that the sponsor of this speech contest is Institute for International Business Communication. And so in your career, future career, I'm sure you will keep your, you will belong to certain institutions or companies or whatever you work. And when you have chances to talk in English, not only in English, but also in Japanese or in any other language, but business communication would be very important. And this kind of speech is something that you scarcely have opportunities to make. In real business world, you rather experience ordinary business communication or say presentation with the PowerPoint slides, and then you have answers, questions and answer sessions. And also you will have certain debates or negotiations. And during such business sceneries, your skill to make yourself understood and persuade your opponents would be very important. So I really wish that you continue all the efforts and keep your speeches, keep your English improvement a lot more so that you will become real effective businessman in the future. So, last but not least, let me congratulate you again, and let me wish you all the best of luck in your future career. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tokuhisa. Next, Ms. Saori Nakasone will give us some comments. Ms. Nakasone, please.
Thank you very much. It was my great honor and pleasure to serve as a judge at the second English contest for IIBC Cup. Thank you very much for the organizer for inviting me as a judge today. Dear contestants, as already mentioned by two questioners, I found your speeches, all of your speeches, fascinating and thought-provoking, and that the topics were all different, and truly enjoy them very, very much. Let me congratulate all of you for this excellent work and the efforts you put into this contest. Very well done indeed. Having said this, I would like to briefly share with you some of my comments to further improve your English speech. First, strictly speaking, you should all have your speeches memorized. This is a speech contest, oratorical contest. So you should be persuasive in your arguments. And the best way to do, and this way to be persuasive, is to know your speech inside out. Second, As I mentioned, all your speeches are of high quality, informative, and sometimes intriguing. And sometimes you made a speech based on your own experiences. And in particular, I was impressed by the ones which gained sympathy of the audience, which made the audience empathize with you and with your experiences. And we feel like we should get together to make the world better, to make the society better, to make our global society better by joining forces. So in order to do this, your speech should be, on one hand, personal, but on the other hand, social, global, and universal, on the other hand. So I think perhaps your university life is giving you a lot of chances for you to reconsider your lives, reassess your values, and revisit your lifestyles. So please try to elaborate your thoughts and views from much wider perspectives. Third, a speech full of information and statistics is good, but it's not enough. Of course, having an evidence is good to support your arguments, but what we want to hear is that not the information which is already available online, but how you analyze it and what kind of concrete actions you want to take or you want to propose us to take. Last but not least, I would like to point out the magical power of the speech title. As you know, the speech title is the very first word or phrase that the audience will hear or watch, even before you actually start speaking. So I would propose that you should be more attentive to the choice of your speech title. It can be something that would summarize the content of your speech, in other words, the key message that you wanted to convey, or it can be something that would connect the introductory part of your speech at the beginning and the conclusion at the end, or it can be something that would narrow the gap between the abstract concepts and the concrete action described in your speech. Once again, congratulations to all of you. I mean, not to the top winners whose names are going to be announced, but also to all the rest of you for the excellent work and efforts you put into this contest. Thank you very much again for having me this afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Nakasone. Next, Mr. Tom Whitson will give us some comments. Mr. Whitson, please.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm very embarrassed that I didn't memorize my speech after I listened to Nakasone-san, but all I have to say is, wow. Again, I am really impressed with the amount of practice and preparation you all put into your speeches today. That was really, really fantastic. I run a business planning skills competition, and all of you have English skills and presentation skills that are right up there at the top of what I see in the program that I run. When we talk about speeches, one thing I was taught by actually a minister at a church was that when you have a speech, you want to have a really good beginning, and you want to have a really bang-up, memorable end, and it's a really good idea to keep them really close together. Okay? In other words, don't talk too long. Now, I listened to your speeches and the Q&A and so forth like that. I looked at three things personally in terms of my evaluation. One was, is this an important topic that's worth investing, my intellect in and listening to you? And, secondly was, do you show evidence of critical thinking? Something that I can say, ooh, that's interesting, that's new. And the third thing, the final thing is, did you make me care about what you had to say? And by and large, you all had elements of these, and let me congratulate you yet again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitson. Lastly, Mr. Keizo Ohashi will give us some comments. Mr. Ohashi, please.
Well, as our well-experienced judges and questioners have already given me insightful feedbacks, I have nothing special to add in terms of today's performance. So instead, taking this opportunity, I'd like to share with you my thought as the organizer of this event. The Institute for International Business Communication, or IIBC, has been providing the TOEIC program in Japan for over 40 years. The concept of TOEIC program was born in Japan, conceived by our predecessor in late 1970s, and in collaboration with ETS, the world's largest not-for-profit educational testing and measurement organization headquartered in Princeton, in New Jersey. The first TOEIC listening and reading test was administered in Japan in 1979. And now the TOEIC program is offered in more than 160 countries, and thus has become the global leader in assessing English communication skills for the workplace and everyday life. But our activities is not confined within the administration of the TOEIC program. We have been active in a wide variety of areas because our ultimate goal is to help develop globally competent human resources. To name a few, IIBC has held seminars, published articles on how to think, act, and communicate in cross-cultural settings. IIBC has been hosting English essay contest for high school students for 15 years. And today we are honored to host the second intercollegiate English speech contest again in this venue. This year, we put no restrictions on the use of generative AI in your preparation for this contest. This is because it's a must for the globally competent human resources to make maximum use of generative AI going forward. Prompt engineering, which is to unlock the unprecedented AI capabilities, needs good command of English, as most generative AI learn data stored in cyberspace where the English language is dominant. But more importantly, no matter how multimodal it could be, generative AI cannot inspire people the same way that humans can. And this is where we should and could shine the brightest in the era of generative AI. To rank each contestant's performance as a judge was not an easy job because everybody's performance was excellent. Each of you, a real life person, inspired me a lot, not generative AI. And as the organizer of this event, I'm very glad to witness this high quality, which is to set a good precedent for our future trajectory. So in this regard, I'd like to express my sincere appreciation for all the efforts you have put in this contest. And I strongly believe that someday you will become a global leader active on the global stage by, among other things, brushing up your English communication skills. IIBC's tagline is, "You connect people around the world. We are here to support." So please stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ohashi. Ladies and gentlemen, now let us move on to the announcement of the winners. Mr. Keizo Ohashi, the president of IIBC, will be awarding the winners. Speakers, when I call your name, please come up to the stage. Now, I would like to announce the third prize winner. The third prize. The third prize goes to Leo Branch from St. Paul's University. The third prize winner will receive a certificate and a trophy from IIBC.
Certificate of award. This is to certify that Mr. Leo Branch has been awarded the third prize at the second intercollegiate English speech contest for the IIBC Cup, held on February 17th, 2024. Keizo Ohashi, President. Thank you. Congratulations.
Next, I would like to announce the second prize winner. The second prize. The second prize goes to Satuki Maeda from Prefectural University of Kumamoto. The second prize winner will receive
Certificate of award. This is to certify that Ms. Satsuki Maeda has been awarded the second prize. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
The second prize winner received a certificate and a trophy from IIBC. Congratulations. Now, I would like to announce the first prize winner. The first prize. The first prize goes to Shiori Hiramoto from Tokyo Metropolitan University.
Certificate of award. This is to certify that Ms. Shiori Hiramoto has been awarded the first prize. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. The first prize winner received a certificate, a trophy from IIBC, and the IIBC Cup. Congratulations. The three prize winners will also receive a personal computer as a special gift. Again, congratulations to the three winners. Also, thank you all the finalists for joining us today. All of you are the recipient of the finalist prize. Congratulations and thank you to all the speakers. Thank you, Mr. Ohashi. Now, I would like to ask Shiori Hiramoto to give us some comments. Shiori Hiramoto, would you please come up to the center of the stage?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for all the organizers who organized all these competitions. I know this is a speech contest, but I'm totally speechless right now. So I was before delivering my speech, I was very nervous because this was actually my very first speech contest in English. Well, I've participated in German presentation contest before, but this was actually my very, very first speech contest that I've participated in. I'm very, very honored to win this competition. And yeah, I really want to thank my mother there. And I really also want to thank my teachers who supported me. And thank you again very much for having me as a part of this wonderful competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiori Hiramoto. Now, this concludes the second Intercollegiate English Speech Contest for the IIBC Cup. We really appreciate all of you here for coming and watching today. We hope to see you again at the third Intercollegiate English Speech Contest for the IIBC Cup. Thank you so much.